Welcome back to the Whatnots Reactor Core number 124. I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. That's great. I love it. My name is Kyle Springer and I'm joined by Melissa Wilkinson to talk some more Secret Invasion. Melissa,
anyone around you could be a Skrull, and anyone around you could be a poet.
Right? Yeah. You never know. Is there a poet in your life? Beware.
If you cut their finger off and their finger remains a human finger, I think that was a poet, not a Skrull.
Or maybe it turns into a pen, right? It's like a big feather quill, those like ink pens that they got there. Anyways, Secret Invasion episode 2. We're here to discuss it. Yeah. I have to. I'll start off right away here. I really liked this one a lot. I listened to a couple like breakdown video, podcast reaction stuff, and I feel like I have an opposite reaction of what a lot of people had. They were all saying that the first episode felt slow, like this real slow burn. And that episode 2, things started to kind of pick up. Whereas I think the exact opposite kind of happened. Not in a bad way, but I think just like episode 1, knowing that this was going to be a spy espionage show about people talking and having conversations about who can you trust, right? I think they kind of had to start things off quickly and give you a bunch of info, set the pieces up and be like, okay, this guy's over here. This is who he is. This is who that is. Like, it felt like a lot of info. And because of that, it felt fast-paced in its own way. Like, that was the action of that first one. Whereas episode 2 here felt, to me, like it slowed down a little bit. It was like, okay, now that you have some context, let's sit with this for a little bit. And I really enjoyed it. I'm kind of biased. I like spy, crime, thriller, espionage stuff. So this stuff is really just like, oh, yes, I love it. It's so good.
I think the show is, I'm also enjoying it very much. I think it's good at delivering a lot of hits. A lot has happened in these first 2 episodes already, like sort of wide expanding very effective things for the MCU. I think it's good at pacing out when you get new pieces of information and when you get new clues. With these big, meaty, like 50-minute episodes, you do have plenty of time to sit with stuff. Absolutely. And information can be revealed in, even if the episode at large isn't slow paced or the show isn't, there can be a slower conversation between 2 characters in one given scene, playing off each other. I like that. I like how much time this show spends on just adult man friends having conversations.
Right? Just people talking.
Yeah.
We do a Rotten Tomatoes movie game on one of our other podcasts where we try to guess what the Rotten Tomatoes scores of different movies will be. And this is partly what I get at when I say like the critic score versus the like just regular tomato score, right? I feel like this is something that will be more critically received well because it is these characters having like actually thought out conversations that builds them up emotionally, that build the stakes. It makes sense. You know, they mentioned the Avengers and it doesn't just feel like an Easter egg. It actually is them being like, well, what would be the consequences of bringing in the Avengers for something like this right now? And they're just like, no, let's not do that right now. Like they have those conversations and it's not like, I know someone with a magic hammer. And that's the end of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I like that. I appreciate that it feels like there's a lot more thought put behind some of these conversations. which is something I think the shows can be really good for, these MCU shows. Like, I don't think we've ever seen Fury break character in the like big MCU movies, right? Like, he is always the one that is on top of his game, 5 steps ahead. But here in episode 2, we get a moment of him just kind of collapsing onto this bench and just being like, holy shit, like, this is a lot. And that's amazing. Like, we don't get that. So yeah, I'm stoked.
For a character who has been with us since 2008. They really are giving him a lot of depth, a lot of specific personal emotional hurdles. The stakes have never felt higher for this character, even though one time half the earth disappeared, including him.
Right.
It's what if Maria Hill dies and then I have to talk to Maria Hill's mom? What if Rhodey fires me? I didn't even know that could happen. I didn't know Nick Fury could be fired, and I didn't know Rhodey
technically can
be the one to do
they're
it.
Just doing it, right? Like, that he's the, because they do have a line in there about like hey, like, my rank is higher than yours here, so technically, which I don't think that's exactly how ranks in kind of different because is Fury in the same arm of the military? I don't think so. So it's
all made up. I don't
know. Yeah, everything's made up.
World,
and the points don't matter.
I know Nick Fury was a colonel. I don't know if he still is a colonel.
He seems very much on the outside right now. I think that's kind of one of the things. Not that he's finding out. I think he kind of knows that, but I think he's finding out like what the extent is of that. Even though we know he'll just be up there in that like Saber space station for the Marvels, not in the too distant future. Here we know he's up there for that. But yeah, he's finding out that like he's kind of on the outs with everyone. No one really trusts him, or they don't like the like trail of destruction that he's kind of left behind him, or the fact that he's disappeared for years on end. And stuff like that. So if I can back up a bit here, despite me liking like most of what happened in this episode, I did feel like the first kind of big conversation that we get in the episode with Nick and Talos on the train, I felt like that one was slightly forced. That might not be the right word. I just, it was not the path I was expecting that conversation to take. I think they got to the place that I was expecting it to get to. They just took a different route. Because when Fury talks about the like, my mom and me would play this one game about like, tell me something I don't know. And then there was this one time that I said we saw a frog with polka dots on it. And she immediately knew I was lying. And based on that, she knew everything she needed to know about what was going on. So when Fury turns that on Talos and he immediately lies, I was kind of expecting Fury, like, it felt like not a joke, but the like, hey, I know you're about to lie to me when I ask you this next thing, but tell me something I don't know about this, right? And he's like, well, you know everything, blah, blah, blah. He's just like, okay. So it I don't know, just like I'm wrestling with that conversation more than I am any of the other ones, just in a sense that like I felt the direction, like the path they chose to get there was strange. Did you feel like that in any of these conversations at all?
I think it's funny how very, very granular we look at these episodes while we're doing these live episode reactions, like the day or the next day after the thing airs. And then a year later, it's just like, remember Moon Knight? Wasn't Moon Knight fun?
Moon Knight was a thing, maybe.
I've thought very specifically about these scenes in the past, and then it doesn't have the weight I think it might have going forward. I like the scene. It did feel kind of like, and now Nick Fury will tell a personal anecdote from his past. They've got that written down on the corkboard, on the little note card. But I appreciate that we do get to know about him in some regard. He's never mentioned a mom before. I like that we've got this setup that can be used again, can be subverted. I like the idea of tell me something I don't know being a callback in like the final episode. Like I said, I think this show's been structurally pretty successful so far.
He also mentioned that hang of like everyone gets one lie. And then the second one, like he did say something like
it's
that.
Got mini games.
Yeah, mind games. It's great.
Playing a lot of games, Nick Fury. But I think the big piece of information out of this is Nick Fury thinks there's a couple dozen Skrulls on Earth. And Talos is like, actually, once you gave us a safe place to live, I did reach out to every other nomadic Skrull I knew, and they're all on Earth now.
There's over 1 million.
There are 1 million Skrulls on Earth. And I like that Nick Fury is so mad. He's comedically mad, and he makes Talos get off the train in who knows where. Like, that's such an immature thing for this otherwise very powerful, steely character to do, to be like, go away, bye, I'm not talking to you anymore. You have to leave. I don't know. Like, you would imagine that if he was thinking more practically, he'd be like, 1 million Skrulls. When did they arrive? How did they arrive? Are there any ships still on Earth? Are they just left to the winds? Did you help place them? Where are they? Like, he's just so mad at the initial idea. He does not ask further questions. He just makes Talos leave.
For Nick Fury, it's kind of about him always being on top, right? He wants to be the one that knows everything. And while I'm still willing to bet that Fury is still 5 steps ahead of us in a lot of stuff, he's finding out there are things that he does not know about, and that's new to him. And I think that's why he's so upset. It's he's not on top of this. He's not in control. And the reason why I do end up liking that conversation between them on the train is that it very clearly makes this, it turns this show into one about like marginalized peoples and how people in positions of power often promise them things. We'll get you a new home. We'll find you a new planet. We'll get you this. We'll get you that. And those promises just kind of end up collecting dust a lot of times, even by those people that we think are good guys and who have good intentions, right? Sometimes they can promise too much and they don't follow through. And so it should come as no surprise when that marginalized group then starts acting out, or but not. I guess that might not be the right way, but to like act in a way that those people in power don't like, right? And I loved all of that stuff. But then to continue on with more of these conversations and things that happen in this, I kind of have to almost maybe disagree with also something you said about, like, remember Moon Knight? Like, sometimes you look at things so granularly and they just don't come back up. And sure, that does happen sometimes. I think one of the strengths of this show is that it's starting to pull some of the things that we forgot about.
I do like that. I do like
Not
that
only
about
is
it
there
very much.
The Skrulls, right? I'm just like, yeah, we did promise them a new planet 30 years ago. But then down the road at the end, we see that Nick Fury has a wife. wait, what? Nick Fury is married. If you remember, in Winter Soldier, he mentions he has a wife, but that could also be taken as like metaphor when he said that, like, hey, I'm having issues at work here.
Or just like, I have to say something mundane because I know we are being surveilled. Right. And that was something that really rode that line of, is that a real piece of information? And then the years went by and you're like, no, I guess that was just a lie. And now it comes back.
Like, no, it's not.
I do really like that. I watch these Marvel TV shows like first thing in the morning while I'm eating breakfast. I'm still waking up when I watch them. So when you come to me like, what did you think about this one scene? I'm like, I was eating oatmeal. I liked it.
The
I have these
dinosaur eggs in my oatmeal were great. Good stuff. Yeah, I think for me, the standout moment of this though is the conversation between Rhodes and Fury when they sit down. This is one that blew my mind. I was not expecting the conversation to go this deep. I loved it. I love the both like recognition and camaraderie, but also the like, dude, I can't back you up on this. It's like there's still so much tension in that moment. And in one of the discords I'm in, like after I got done, I started hyping out all of my thoughts. And on that one, I was just like, that whole conversation was just fire. It was awesome. Besides that, I don't really know what to say. I feel like I'm still unpacking it. And I still feel that way. Like, I think that might be one of my favorite moments in the MCU period. And it blew me away. It was so good. So I am enjoying this a lot. I've been talking a lot about all of these conversations and stuff that happened in the show. Was there something else about this that stood out to you that you wanted to mention that I've not mentioned yet?
I really like the sequence with Sonya Fallsworth. I think that's a good place for her to shine. I like that we're getting this much of her this early. Olivia Colman, Oscar winner, and a performer of quite a caliber. So I'm like, if you're putting her in the 6-episode series, she's got to have a lot to do. There's got to be a lot of significance to her presence here. We still don't know exactly who she is, whose side she's on, what game she's playing. But we get to see her be pretty active in this episode. I like that she just waltzes right in past this locked door, and the guy's like, the door was locked. And she's like, well, what do you think that says about me, huh? Where are your secrets? Show me your secrets, please. Thank you. Yep. So just wearing a nice little outfit, she's holding like a purse. I love when she has to escape through like an underground hatch, and she has to like crawl through this underground hatch holding her purse in one hand.
Yep.
And the whole time she's just polite, savvy, unflappable, just very eloquent and well spoken and calm. That was a really nice showcase for the actor and for the character who we are still getting to know.
Yeah. To be honest, it's kind of terrifying. Because she remains so calm and she never reacts to this new information in a way that is like, oh, I didn't know that. Or like, oh, I'm surprised. Like, she's not surprised. She's not scared of any of this info. It's almost like she knew it already. And this was just to confirm it. And that is interesting because that feels like the level of control that Fury wants to have, but he currently does not. And so, yeah, it is just kind of scary, right? To see her walking around feeling like she's on top of the world here, just having a quaint little day, right?
Yeah, just like very politely cutting somebody's finger off. Also, a gnarlier shot than I thought we might have gotten on Disney Plus. You can see the bone severed in there. But an
Disney
interesting
Plus
move.
now with R-rated movies.
It's an interesting move from her. Like, I don't need to kill you, but I can get what I need and like mark you forever. Everybody's going to know you encountered Sonya Falsworth.
Yep. Absolutely. I thought she was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Something else that stood out to me was Gaia in this episode, because while Fury is having conversations left and right with all of these people, her part, I think, was so powerful because she doesn't say really anything.
Yeah.
In this, and I thought that was interesting, that she's just kind of watching, she's observing, and you can see it on her face that she's starting to become uncomfortable with where she's at. I don't know if that means she will betray Gravik or who knows what, but she's not certain about where she's at, right? There's that scene where they do save the one dude after he's getting tortured, and they drive him out in the middle of the woods and they kill him, and she's just sitting there looking forward in this car, but you can just see it on her face. She's just like, this is not what I expected. I didn't know that Gravik could be up to something like that, or if she did, she's also being like, is this what he did to my mom? Is that really what happened? Like, do I not know everything? That's it, right? It's another character wondering about like her place of like, how much do I know? How much do I control?
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought that was fantastic. We get her sneaking around a little bit, and she finds some interesting Easter eggs. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I, like you said, I like that we do have these callbacks to little dropped plot lines as in our business. I say business like we make any money from it, but like doing a reaction to
/the whatnots is where you can support us if you do want to give us a little bit of money.
Theoretically, like we talk so specifically about all these scenes and all these episodes like right after they happen, and we don't. I think we spend more time than we need to on things because we don't know what the big picture is going to be. Anything could be the big picture. Let's dig into anything.
Sure.
But I do like that it is picking up threads that we thought were dropped. Things like Hull Obsidian getting his arm chopped off by a Wong portal back in Infinity War. Who took that arm? Where's that arm been? The Frost Beast. I watched the new Rockstars breakdown. That's like, you remember when like
Thor
the Dark World, when like stuff was coming to Earth. This was one of those. I'm like, I don't remember that.
I remembered it. I did.
Everybody's got their one Marvel thing that bugs them in the back of their head, and mine is that Dairy Queen getting taken over by ego alien stuff in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Do you have a sample from that Dairy Queen? Can you use that on a Skrull? That's the one I've been wondering about. But they've got samples of Groot, which you can imagine when they may have been collected, but that's also not, they're not picking up something that was dropped. They are bringing in something new, but still in a way that makes it fit into stuff that's happened in the past. Nice to see Extremis again. Now you're wondering.
Yeah.
Well, I wondered for a second, was Aldrich Killian also a Skrull? Does the timeline line up that he could have been a Skrull? And I'm like, did he die in the movie? Do we see him turn back into a Skrull? I don't remember Iron Man 3 that specifically. Yeah. Right. If a Skrull explodes, you can't tell from like a little fleck. If like if you explode to the point where you're pulverized, you can't tell if that's a human or a Skrull.
So
too little, tiny bits.
Here's the thing. I don't think Killian was a Skrull because we know that Skrulls can process radiation better than humans. I don't know if Extremis was radioactive, but by the way it looked and by the fact that they explode, right? I could say maybe it has some radiation or some kind of similar effect. And so that's almost what I thought what's her name put in the one Skrull's blood to make it royal, because you could start to see his veins. They weren't necessarily glowing like Extremis, but they were brighter in a sense that like you could, like, they were visible. And if it only boils his blood, maybe Skrulls are capable of kind of like incorporating that in a different way than humans are. And so, yeah, it's just confirmation, of course, that these Skrulls are working on a super Skrull. Which is interesting to think about, that this is also potentially a super soldier story, but from another perspective and not necessarily having to do with Steve Rogers' blood.
Yeah.
So,
you can make a super soldier out of other things.
Yeah.
The fact that the show is returning to little remnants of MCU past does make you think, even if you barely remember any of the details, and if you remembered them more clearly, would utterly disprove anything you're wondering about. But it does make you look back at other characters. Like we've tackled recent continual characters like Everett Ross, like Maria Hill. They're part of this. They're proven to be a Skrull or not a Skrull, or they die. But they could take anybody out of the past and add them into the mix here. Was Justin Hammer a Skrull? I don't know. But maybe it'll tell us. I can't wait for the most obscure character that they reveal to be a Skrull.
I've heard people like start to speculate of like who they because they think they will pull out some big name that like they were a Skrull the whole time. Whether it be Captain America, because we don't know, he's been gone for a long time. I don't know what's up with him. Or
absence
or like
equals Skrull.
Yeah, is Hawkeye a Skrull? I don't know. I've also heard Happy, that Happy might be a Skrull.
I've heard Happy. Yes,
I think that's a good one. But I don't know.
I'd like to see a Skrull that looks like Jon Favreau. I think putting him in that makeup, so he's a nice physical presence. He'd make a good alien, I think.
Right.
Yeah, I can't wait for like tiny characters, like the guy from the Apple stores as Specimen to Captain America. Noob Master 69, Skrull the whole time.
Noob Master 69, yes, make him a Skrull. Also, what's his name that was in Spider-Man and Shang-Chi? He was like, Spider-Man, do a flip, and was the one like
Cherry.
Yes, make him a Skrull. That would be great.
That's what I'm talking about. Characters that small. Scroll them for me, please.
Anyways, last but not least, to get back to Fury is married.
Yes.
It's interesting because according to the new Rockstars, or was it the new Rockstar? I think it was the Kind of Funny thing that I saw. Apparently, the director of this has said that the script is clear that Fury knows that his wife is a Skrull, but it's shot in a way that us watching it are like, but does he know? Right? I don't know. So I like that. I thought that was interesting. One of my thoughts was also that, like, it is that Fury? Are there actually multiple Furies running around right now, and the narrative just hasn't told us that yet?
That could be fun.
That could be interesting. Because like what's interesting to me is that Fury just walks into the house and like music is playing, and so to the wife, to the Skrull that's there, she's not necessarily sure of who just walked in the house.
Yes.
So obviously would change into like some human form, not to alarm anyone, but then does not change back, right? It's still only her and Fury, and isn't like, oh, it's just you, and then goes back into her thing, right? Like, that's also something I'm like, okay. I mean, I guess if you want to make out in human form, that's
Right. We don't know the preferences of every Skrull. This may be one who took to a human form and genuinely likes it, likes to live in this form as her major way. Or maybe she's like,
yeah,
I took this form when I
Ignacio.
married you, when I
What's
became
up,
your wife. Oh, Ignacio's here. Hi.
Are you still doing?
We're still talking about Secret Invasion. Do you have any thoughts on Nick Fury's wife?
No, kind of came out of nowhere, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was not one that we
Wait, Cal, do you need
knew
me
or
to leave?
suspected. No, you're fine. This is Ignacio Rojas. Ignacio, thanks for joining us.
A Skrull could be anywhere, and Ignacio can be anywhere.
Skrull, yeah.
Yeah.
It was one we weren't really expecting, but like I mentioned at the start, there is the like, he did kind of mention a wife in Winter Soldier, but yeah, who knows? So, oh well. That's about all I have to say on Secret Invasion Episode 2. Ignacio, final thoughts. Secret Invasion Episode 2.
First and final thoughts.
It was very good. Sucks that they had to kill off Heel.
Yeah.
It was very unceremonious. I wish they hadn't done it. But other than that, it was a good episode.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say Fury in the comics is also known for having body doubles. Who knows?
But I don't know. Yeah, I've seen the theory floating around of using life model decoys.
Yeah,
but that's something that they've never used in the MCU, and it would be very weird to have a scene with
Winter Soldier.
Mom.
They used one.
I mean,
when Fury got shot and died. Right? They
but that's different. You had Hill's mom there. You had her coughing, and you're gonna tell me that at no point no one realized that they had a fake human or humanoid or whatever inside the casket.
Motto decoy.
I don't know, man.
Fury's always like 10 steps ahead. But yeah, we don't know at the end of the day, and if she could be dead,
like
and it sucks that she's dead.
I like the idea that this whole series is predicated on fear of a Skrull being in your midst and on fear of a shapeshifter. And then in this investigation, right, they find that there's another way to double somebody. They're like, now we got to deal with a life model decoy. Who's making those? I got to go to Latveria.
Doombots. God damn it.
It made for a great arc in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So it's not like the idea is good. But I don't know. They will do that here.
Understandable. Yeah. Who knows? Melissa, last final thoughts.
The song that Priscilla Fury is playing on the stereo when Nick Fury comes home is Try a Little Tenderness. Mm-hmm. And something about that like poked at me. Like I know that song. I know it from something like really specific. I've heard it recently. And then I realized that's
stuff.
That's some of Donkey's advice to Shrek. When Shrek's talking about how he wants to get with Fiona, Donkey's like, you got to try a little tenderness. I'm like, that's
Ladies and gentlemen, that's been our reaction to Secret Invasion Episode 2. Melissa, where can the people find you and your Shrek knowledge on the internet?
Seek me out for all Shrek related queries. You can find me at Wilkywit, WILKYWIT on Twitter and Instagram, and listen to my other podcast, Saturday Morning Obscurities.
And Ignacio.
Sure. You can find me on Twitter at Ignacio Rojas B. That's IGNACIOROJASB.
There you go. And you guys can find me at Yo Kyle Springer. And if you'd like to stay up to date with all of the stuff that we do here at The Whatnots, we are at The Whatnots on Twitter. So yeah, please go like, share, and subscribe, regardless if you're human, Skrull, LMD, Doombot. That would help us out a ton. We got plenty more videos over there on that side. go check them out. That would help us out even more. This has been number 124 of the Whatnots Reactor Core. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Even more rhymes. The ends there.